we're live. It takes a second yet. We'll start seeing the people. Here they come. I'm seeing people start to join in. I've been working
Me
my
too.
yes, and I've been working my subscriber base pretty hard. I don't know if you can see it, but they're all coming in on the corner there.
Yeah. Yep.
People will be able to ask you questions through here. There were some issues with that this morning. Sometimes the
Okay.
questions weren't going through, but the replay will definitely go out. I think
And
Substack's a little
if you don't mind, I mean, because I do this kind of stuff for work, webinars and whatnot, and the thing that isn't always easy for me is to pay attention to the comments in the chat. So if there's any, I don't want to ignore anybody, or if there's a compelling question that I'm just not responding to, don't hesitate to say, "Hey, Chris, could you please respond to this?" Won't take offense at all.
absolutely. I'm going to put your link to your webpage there.
Uh,
Let me get going. Let me take a deep breath. Let me take a deep breath and conquer and climb this mountain. We'll climb this mountain together. So today I have the honor of introducing Substack to the world of Substack to Chris Armstrong, who is running for Congress in Wisconsin. And I really appreciate it. We have a primary coming up. There's Will. Thank you, Will. And I just really want to start out because I expect I'm going to be getting a little bit riled up later because of all the things going on today. But first and foremost, I just want to say thank you. This is the new media. These are new people. I really appreciate that you would come to talk to me. All I am is a dad. I'm a school teacher. I have daughters. My wife is an immigrant. And too often, or for too long, it's been the case that our representatives are out of touch with us. They live in their little echo chambers. They talk only to their big money donors. They don't talk to us. They don't talk to people with real problems and real issues. So I applaud you just for being here. Thank you for being here. And I want to give you the chance to tell a little bit about yourself to the people.
Well, my pleasure. And as you know, I got turned on to you by a supporter up here in I'm in St. Croix County, Wisconsin, so on the very west side of the 7th CD. So it takes about 30, 40 minutes to get to Minneapolis, St. Paul. But a supporter up in the Hayward area said, because I was talking to her about I need to get some more exposure, get some, higher visibility. She said, you should talk to Walter. And I, message you on Substack, and you replied, instantly.
Great.
We talked shortly thereafter, so I really appreciate you taking the time, Walter, and giving me this opportunity. So just a little bit about myself. Let's see. We'll go way back. So both my folks were from St. Paul, Minneapolis. That's where they grew up for most of their lives. Went to high school. My dad's dad is Ike Armstrong. He was the coach of the Utah Utes from 1925 to 1950, which ended up him being inducted into the Collegiate Hall of Fame. And he was known as the Newt Rockne of the Rockies as a player and a coach. He then became the athletic director at the University of Minnesota, and hired Willie Warmoth, who was the coach when the Gophers won the Rose Bowl back in the 60s. And my mom's family, they emigrated from Germany at least my great-great-grandfather, in like 1830-ish. They took a steamship across the ocean, went to New Orleans, took the paddle wheel up Mississippi, ended up in St. Paul. And they, with 7 other families, started the first Jewish synagogue in the territory of Minnesota. And then my grandfather got into the fur trading business. Not so much, a line of work popular these days, but as a part of that, did a lot of trading with the local native community, as well as, French voyageurs and other trappers. And so, after they graduated and then they got married, my dad ended up enlisting as an officer in the Air Force. And so he was stationed out in the Bay Area and during Vietnam. And that's when I was born in 1965. And so after his tour of duty, he got a job with Northwest Airlines, since acquired by Delta. And it was real interesting. A lot of Northwest pilots at that time were buying farmsteads in western Wisconsin. So there were like 4 Northwest families in a small area where I grew up out in the middle of north of Star Prairie on the Apple River, the inner tubing capital of the world, if you haven't heard it. And so I grew up there in Polk County, went to school in Amory, Wisconsin,
Yep.
pretty much at the end of the school bus route. So, first person picked up, last person dropped off.
Yeah.
Had the privilege of getting into an advanced math class at UW Eau Claire,
Ah,
which allowed me to graduate a year early. So I
nice.
graduated high school at 16. And in retrospect, I'm not sure if that was the greatest thing, but at the time it was awesome. But then I went to school at UW Madison,
Yeah.
and I found out there were things other than scholastic pursuit that might attract a young man's interest. So got sucked into that, ended up dropping out. Was kind of a teenage dirtbag for a couple of years. Sold computers at a computer
Nice.
shop in Amory for a while, and actually started programming computers when I was about 13. And decided I should go back to school. So I went to University of Minnesota, Minneapolis Twin Cities campus, and got my degree in astrophysics with a
Oh,
minor
great.
in mathematics. And but I actually had a part-time job doing programming while I was going to school, making pretty good money at the time. And I was like, I'm really kind of into this IT thing, so I decided to stick with it instead of pursuing a master's or a PhD in astrophysics, which because I figured, universe isn't going anywhere, hopefully. So, if I, planet Earth, that's another thing, but the
Yeah.
universe, if I get the opportunities to do a career change later, I can always go back and do it. But now, here I am, just turned 60 last year, and this is, I'm the owner of my own IT business. This is my third company. This is our 20th year of being in business. And so, I've had the great privilege of being able to, be my own boss, work from home. I've grown the company. It's, grown to, 30, 40 people and contracted and, over the years, depending on technology trends and stuff like that. Ended up, before that, getting married to a local girl, had two kids. They went to school here in New Richmond, Wisconsin. Now they're in their, late 20s, early 30s. Got divorced, remarried, someone who's native here in New Richmond, and live here, now. So that's kind of, a little bit of my origin story.
Mhm.
And, the next thing that a lot of people want to know about was, well, how did you get involved in politics, and what compelled you to make this choice to run for Congress? And I just recall, November 3rd, 2024, sitting in my
Mm.
lazy boy with my old fashioned, watching the election returns come in, thinking that Kamala had a pretty good chance. It wasn't like 100% confident, but like, I think we're pretty good chance. And then, of course, did not go that way. And then once, the unconstitutional, illegal, un-American executive orders came out on day one after the inauguration, and then Elon getting in with Doge, taking a freaking sledgehammer to
Yep.
U.S. Federal government agencies, firing people, impounding funds, destroying USAID amongst many other things, and again, all freaking illegal.
Yep.
And I was like, I'm sure, like yourself, Walter, and many of your viewers, was like, what the freak is going on? Why isn't anybody doing anything? I get that the Democrats were in power, but they were doing nothing.
Yes.
And so I decided I had to do something because I would pull out what's left of my hair, which isn't very much these days, or I'd break something in my house. So about a year ago, I actually checked my computer um, for some file dates on February 19th, 2025. I decided I just can't sit here and do nothing. So I went to the busiest intersection in New Richmond at rush hour, and I started protesting by myself.
Nice. I love it.
So I basically carried a sign that was not very supportive of the current administration and various opinions. And I basically just walked the crosswalk, as
Mhm.
a human billboard, felt it was, performative to some extent, but it was actually pretty cathartic. At
Yes.
least I felt I was getting out of the house and doing something, which was, again, showing people in my community that I'm freaking sick of this crap and I'm not accepting it. And of course, hopeful that maybe there'd be some
Yes.
response. And for the most part, the response was pretty positive. Of course, there's the naysayers, people that flip you off and rev their engines and whatnot. But overall, it was okay. And then the Supreme Court election was coming up in for April 1st, with between Susan Crawford and Brad Schimmel, and I was like, I just can't leave this for chance again, because I thought it was all going to work out, and Trump won, to be quite honest, and the 2024 election. And I'm like, my wife and I, we've been pretty, what I call minimal impact voters. Well, maybe that's not the right word, but we always vote in every election, up and down, primaries, local, state, federal, put up lawn signs, maybe throw a couple of bucks to a candidate, to be quite honest, not a lot, very frequently. But I'm like, I just can't cross my fingers and hope it's going to work out. So I got involved in a local Democrat party, to try to see what I could do to help get the vote out and try to ensure the likelihood that Susan Crawford would win. And so I went to my first Democrat meeting here in St. Croix County, and their focus was really about getting the vote out, all that kind of stuff. But then at the end of it, they would say, anyone got anything to say? And I got up and said, I used a little bit of profanity. I don't know what your policy is there, but
I'm good with it. But
okay,
you're going fine.
I'm trying to keep it a little PG-13 here, but I was just like, what the fuck is going on? Why isn't anybody doing anything?
Yeah,
I'm doing this. It's just a little bit, but we got to stand up and we got to push back against these bastards.
Yes.
And what was really compelling, it's just it's an interesting serendipity here, is an older couple came up to me afterwards and said, we want to know if you're the Chris Armstrong we think we know. And I'm like, I don't know. I didn't recognize him. And they said, well, I'm your second grade elementary teacher. And they're like, oh, how are you doing? And she was with her husband, who was the Phi Ed teacher in elementary school, and just a lovely couple, retired now. And they said, hey, love your energy, what you had to say. We're going to the Polk County Dems in 2 days. Maybe you should come up and see what's happening there. So I did that same sort of, thing, getting the vote out, getting people organized. And then at the end, like, what the hell is going on? Kind of doing the, channeling Howard Beale and Network, right?
Yep.
Mad as hell. I'm not going to take it anymore. And a guy came up and said, hey, have you ever thought of running for Congress? And I was like, well, not really. But now that you mention it, maybe we'll give it a go.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, that's such a lovely origin story. Thank you. And I keep telling people, I mean, mine's similar. I've always been just a writer. Substack launched this live feature. I've had the opportunity to talk to so many people, learn so much more. We keep growing our visibility and growing our impact. And I keep telling people, just do something. Whatever you can do today, do something. Don't wait for the midterms. Don't wait for the primaries. Today. There's so much we can do. And there was so much power in just doing like you did the first time, taking your sign all by yourself out to the street. Have the courage to talk to your neighbors and say, this isn't right, because I guarantee everybody knows this isn't right. And I want to get to a couple of things that you said, though, about one of the big things a lot of people are talking to me about now is election integrity. People have been worried about the midterms. They're worried about the SAVE Act. And as that's going on, we're worried about ICE. And the way Pam Biondi was talking today at her congressional hearing, it kind of makes me inclined to believe that this administration has no intention of allowing the midterms. But in addition to that, we're worried about the midterms. So I feel we need to put pressure on our Democrats, the whole party, to say in advance, they will demand hand recounts. They will demand forensic audits. And if you look at this, you look all the way back, the Republicans asked for an endless amount of recounts for 2020. They're still seizing ballots. They're still doing investigations. And I have a lot of frustration with the Democratic Party because they did none of that for 2024. And there's a lot of, I would love if we would get a movement going. We put aside this nonsense about we can't be like them, and we stand up for the vote. Because what happens again and again and again is that the American people come out. We put the Democrats in power in 2020. They had the power to stop this. Merrick Garland had all the files that have just been, they were talking about to be released. It feels to me like there are Democratic strategists who sabotage Kamala. There are people like James Carville who continually, in my opinion, make blatantly racist comments that drive away the voter base. And our dollars. Then they come to me and ask for my money to support them. And then when they don't win their elections, they don't ever go and fight for our vote. They blame us. So I was wondering what your thoughts are on integrity going forward and accountability for the people who are responsible for what happened in 2020.
Right. Well, as you know, the U.S. election administration of elections is local and state. Of course, Trump wants to nationalize that, which again is anti-constitutional. Um, the SAVE Act is just a huge, big pile of misogynistic bullshit. Um, not to notwithstanding that J.D. Vance wouldn't be able to vote because Vance is not his
Yeah.
name. But it's just, as I'm sure you and your viewers understand, it's just the desperation of these people to do whatever they can to be a minority party with majority rule. They will go to all lengths to preserve, their position of power. Although, as someone who's getting into politics, I mean, you always hear, power corrupts, absolutely, right? I just don't get it. I mean, what the hell are these people in office for? I mean, I just don't get it. I mean, it must be the insider trading. Is it the cool posh parties you get to go to and the internet? I just don't understand how these people don't feel serving the public and their voters is their freaking job. That's what they're supposed to do. But, it's pretty clear, for the past how many cycles that they see the writing on the wall. And I'm sorry to tell you, but there is a demographic shift happening in the United States, and it's happened over the course of the history of the United States. But white people are not going to be in the majority. It's just the freaking way it's going to be.
Well, they want to establish an apartheid state is what they want to do.
Yeah,
And that's William Spivey was talking about that. But I mean, yes, this issue of our elections are not safe. And that's when people start saying, yeah, let's go. Because I think they interfered. I mean, we know there were bomb threats in 2024. That's a fact. That is election interference right there. And so it feels as if this has been stolen from us and people are dying now. And it feels like our weak response from I call them the silver spoon Democrats who refuse to even, in Pennsylvania, I think it was a senator, it was a very close election. Even he capitulated. He had every reason to ask for a recount. Right. And he still just resigned.
I don't get, but I think again, the infrastructure itself is pretty decentralized. You hear threats about, Bannon saying that, send out ICE agents to, monitor polling places. There are not enough ICE agents to freaking do. They may deploy them in key states and cities, Detroit, Atlanta, so on and so forth, because, this administration, in my opinion, they're gangsters.
Yep.
Their modus of operandi is pretty simple. Extortion, intimidation, and they're running a protection racket. I mean, if you just see the letter, right, that Pam Bondi wrote Tim Walz, but basically like, and again, collusion or conspiracy between the Department of Justice and Department of Homeland Security. I don't know how that works, but I'm not saying it's RICO or anything, but hey, we're going to stop sending people to your communities, and you really need to cut back on the rhetoric, because if you don't stop doing that, we're going to keep sending people to murder your people when you start complaining about how we're murdering your people. But we'll stop that if for three things, right? If you provide us your rolls for Medicaid and SNAP benefits, you repeal all of your sanctuary laws and give us your voter rolls.
Yeah.
That's freaking extortion.
Yeah.
And so, Pam Bondi needs to be impeached.
Yeah.
Kristi Noem needs to be impeached. Pete Hegseth needs to be impeached. Mark Rubio needs to be impeached.
Well, I would say I would go further. I think they all need to be, tried.
Well, there needs to be some truth and reconciliation when we're through with this, because Merrick Garland did not. I don't know. He probably wasn't the right guy for the moment, but if Brazil can immediately put together a federal case against Bolsonaro after his attempted coup attempt, it's just a lack of will. in my opinion,
Well,
and a lack of courage. And that's the really thing I'm disappointed with
yeah.
the Democrats. I mean,
Yes.
the Republicans, they're just Trump butt
Oh,
sniffles, right?
yeah,
With
they're
some
Trump in
exception. I
fashion.
mean, Tom Massey, what is up with Tom Massey and Lauren Boebert and being like, maybe the Epstein
Well,
files?
they at least signed it, but they're still doing a lot of them,
Yep.
like, Boba's still doing some reprehensible things. But yeah, I mean, clearly, my opinion is we're seeing the Epstein files. If you dig into the Epstein files, the level of corruption, it's all this big money. And there are plenty of Democrats who are taking money from who knows where. And it really feels as if they were content during the Biden administration. They had all the power again to hold all this accountable. They did nothing. And
They
it
did
makes
not.
me think that we have quite a bit of corruption. I mean, clearly, it's not the level of corruption among the Republicans is just beyond the pale,
It's
but
astounding.
but I think there's plenty of enabler on our side. So this is why I love people like you who are new to politics, who are running for the office, who are talking about this. But I want, if you get on debate stages, I
Hmm.
mean, what incentive is there? I mean, we are not standing up and defending the right of the voting public. The Democrats are the ones who tell us to be quiet if we think, hey, my vote, I don't think my vote got counted. I want assurance that my vote got counted.
Yep.
Because at the same time, there's, Democrats are saying, please send me $5. Will you make sure my vote gets counted? No, we're not election deniers. So it's like, I'm not going to send you any money then, is basically what it counts. And we deserve, there's nothing wrong with us saying we want to investigate that election. We want to prove that was fair. And if we say we're going to do that going into the midterms, that might let the bad guys know that they better not cheat. They better not, that they're going to be caught if they try to do these things. So I need the conversation to be switched to that direction on the part nationally of the Democratic Party.
Yep.
Defend our elections and our
Right.
voting.
And there's things that state legislatures can do in blue states. You may have read the same thing just a day or two ago. Mark Elias wrote an article.
Mm-hmm.
The basics said here are 5 things
He's been
that
wonderful. Yep.
that blue states can do to tighten things up. They have to do a certification, have to do a third party challenges for voter eligibility,
Yes.
so on and so forth. Again, simple things,
Yes.
perhaps not
Reasonable
controversial.
things. Completely
You know,
reasonable.
probably wouldn't get that done in Wisconsin because we still have a Republican, majority legislature. But I think the Wisconsin Senate and Assembly is going to get flipped this
Yeah.
fall.
Well, assuming we have a fair election. And see, again,
Right.
it's like we don't have to be results oriented. We just need to be talking about it. It's again what we said. Just do something today. We need to talk
Yep.
about it today. Put that pressure on them.
Yep. And so, the feds, Trump and DHS and Department, I mean, they're going to throw a bunch of sand in the gears. They're going to screw with stuff. They're going to, the whole basis of their position is all based on a lie, as you probably know, right? I mean, it's just so freaking hilarious in a dark humor way that Republicans get up and say people are concerned about the integrity of the vote. And it's like, well, how the fuck you wonder fucking why? Because you guys keep casting
Because they
doubt on the
cheat.
integrity of the vote, you dumb
Yeah.
shits.
And they cheat. Yeah.
And so, I, as a, you know, voting, Democrat and progressive, my whole life, and trying to and paying attention more recently. I've heard, my personal opinion, and I've heard from others. Don't know if you and your viewers might share this, but for God's sakes, a lot of the Democrats are fucking pussies. Okay.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
first CR was happening back in April, I was just like, "What the frick are you doing, Schumer?"
Oh, yeah.
I
Capitulate.
mean,
Yep.
we have limited power. There's no doubt about it, right? And but at the same time, I was like, why is any Democrat voting for any of their nominees?
Yes.
What? None. It should be like total abstention. We need to be more than an opposition party. We need to be a dissenting party.
Yes.
And the leadership is just, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure Jeffries and Schumer are good people. They mean well, but they're just not the guys for the moment,
Well,
man. They are not reading the room.
I
And
call them silver.
they think it's, that the game that they've played for decades is the same
Correct.
game, and it's not the same game, man.
I call them silver spoon Democrats. Maybe that's a word you could use because they've never had to stand up to bullies. They've never had
Right.
to. And like working class people, you and me, we've had to get into our fights on the school bus because we're left behind. These guys, they don't know the true evil of the world. And there is credible evidence that a lot of the people they're working with day to day have raped children. I mean, there's names that are appearing in these files. Now, I'm just kind of curious on your viewpoint on that. If you had a colleague who had a credible accusation against him, like somebody you worked with in some sort of business had a credible accusation against him that he had raped a child, how do you respond? I mean, how do you go about your day with that person?
Well, I just, it would, obviously depend on the nuances of the relationship and circumstances, but I'd be like, dude, what the fuck did you do?
Yeah.
Um, I mean, in all fairness, I'd probably want to hear their side of the story, but, based on the likely, evidence, whether it's direct or circumstantial, and I think this has been the case with a lot of people, is that I could give a shit who was in the Epstein files, right? Bill Clinton, whatever. Bill Gates, don't care. It's all got to come out because, I think, what was it, John Ossoff,
Mhm.
perhaps credited with, this is really about the Epstein class, right? This is a set of elites that think that they're so powerful. And again, it's been demonstrated to date that, there's rationale for that, their position, that they think they can get away with raping our children. How, I just don't know how I mean, it just makes my brain freaking explode. And, again, why didn't Biden and Merrick Garland do something about it? I don't know. I mean, I think there's part of it is there were still some legal actions pending or they were going through it. But there's clearly a cabal of rich people that, because of their position and power and money, are able to get away with raping children.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they all need to be held accountable. The sweetheart deal that Alex Acosta came up with, in Miami. I mean, it's just so freaking shady. And so, clearly, the way that, Bondi has been responding and Todd Blanche, I mean, they're just bald faced liars. They are breaking the law, based on
Yep.
the Epstein Transparency Act. But this is, again, it just curdles my freaking
Yeah.
insides
Good.
that
I'm glad it does.
The Democrats, again, not being in a position of power, but the Democrats should be using every mechanism in their thing, whether it's soft or hard,
Yeah.
to, to basically get these bastards to freaking follow the law. I mean, it's
Yes.
just like, following the law is not supposed to be optional.
Yes.
Trump's been able to get away with it for his entire fucking life, and he's got a really simple strategy, and it's worked really well for him. But that's because everybody else is a bunch of fucking pussies,
Yeah.
which
Yep.
is, stop me, I dare you. And I'm telling you,
Yeah.
we are going to freaking stop them.
Yes.
But it
Thank you.
takes the power of the people to
Yes.
step up and demand accountability and action.
Yep.
That the time of normal business as usual is freaking over.
Yes. And I say this too, bullies are essentially weak. And even a fight is a contest. Bullies will never want to prove themselves. And this sorry excuse for a person who has stolen our government has absolutely no qualities. There's not one thing he can do. And the only thing he is good at is deflecting away and hiding all of his incompetence. But you can't hide forever, especially when you take the most visible job in the world. But all we have to do is push back. And we got all these Democrats, the silver spoon Democrats, who have never had to stand up to a bully because they've had everything handed to them. It's always been easy for them. They sit on the elliptical trying to get the praise of these reprehensible people who spend all their lives accusing us of things. But we had all those Democrats vote to keep funding ICE. And I believe if you're going to vote to fund ICE, you should have to spend a week in the detention. I mean, just see what it's like. What's these detention centers like? And we're not seeing it. We need to see our representatives going down, seeing what's happening in Minneapolis before they're making these decisions.
I mean, I've been to the Whipple building. I haven't been in the Whipple building, but part of my activism, maybe just to rewind a little bit and get off
Good.
track, is that after the Crawford election on April 1st, and I'd been doing my solo protesting for 3 or 4 weeks. I'm like, maybe we could, because there was a hands-off thing was coming up on April 5th, and I'm like, maybe we could do one of those here in New Richmond. So I signed up on Mobilize, created an event on Wednesday, where the event was on Saturday, so like 3 days in advance. Morning of the rally, 95 people had signed up and 250 people showed up,
Excellent.
including independents and Republicans.
Good. Good.
And then shortly after that, I founded New Richmond Indivisible. So we've been
Awesome.
having protests, about every other week
Yeah.
until recently. We are now having them every week. And the theme is ICE out for good.
Yeah.
And
Yes. I've
and
been
I
saying
think,
justice for good. That's my phrase. That's how I
yeah,
say hi to people. Justice for good.
yep, yep. Well, I mean, so I've got some campaign buttons, one
Oh,
kind of obvious,
nice. I gotta
but
hold it this way. It might not be in there.
this is one of the
Oh,
provocative
nice.
ones.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one too.
So, if you go to my website, you'll see that's pretty much the first video clip. Because what was happening is, the cinematography team that was there interviewing me at my mom and stepdad's place said, because I'd written up some comments to, were scripted, blah blah blah, and they're like, if you had to summarize your political perspective in, a short idiom or phrase, what would it be? And I'm like, I don't know, maybe don't be a dick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, how hard is it not to be a freaking asshole?
Yeah.
Apparently really hard for some people. I don't get it, but
That's a good phrase.
but
Yeah.
I think it's been, we're really close here to Minneapolis, St. Paul, and when stuff started, getting active, a lot of people went to Minneapolis and St. Paul because there'd be tens of thousands of people. But I thought it was really important that we have a presence here in our local communities here in red rural Wisconsin,
Yes. Yes.
because I think a lot of people are like, what the hell are those people doing on the street corner?
Yep.
And a big part of my goal for this was, it was just not self-interest, again, performative. It was cathartic,
Yeah.
certainly, but it's, to show people, hey, if there's any other people that think about these issues like I do, come and join us.
Yeah.
You're not
Yeah.
alone. And so I
Yep.
think people have had that experience across the U.S. In
Yes.
northern Wisconsin, there's about 15 indivisible groups.
Yeah.
And as you know, they're all grassroots,
Yep.
locally driven, but just having, and it's a part of the having a path to hope and
Yes.
optimism that we can do something. It makes a difference.
Yep.
How much are the people in power, particularly the Republicans, paying attention to this? Don't really know, right? They call us all paid advocates,
They
activists.
lie. They're liars.
Well, it's true, but we're all self-employed paid activists, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I'm starting my own, activism business. But it's, I think we still get the naysayers and the people that, flip us off and stuff like that. But it's really been a very warm building of a
Yeah.
community. And then particularly with the escalation of ICE enforcement in
Yes.
Minneapolis, St. Paul, that has spilled over to St.
Yep.
Croix County, Wisconsin,
Yep. Yep.
as I know it has, into Dunn County, Eau Claire, Pierce,
Yep.
Polk and Barron. But I'm as you may know, there's a lot of rapid response teams going on.
Yes.
They're picking up people in Hudson, in
Yeah.
Baldwin, River Falls.
Well, let me just add in, yeah, like I thank you for what you're doing. And yeah, to all the people watching, yes, a big part of this authoritarian movement is to make us believe we don't have any power, to make us feel helpless, to threaten us. It's like
Yep,
if you're playing chess, they constantly put you in check, but that's not a viable strategy because putting something constantly in check without any other awareness of what the game is, you can put yourself in a corner. And we have to take some joy and recognize our power in that. Have the courage to talk out to people. Northern Wisconsin, the part where you've been in, yes, there's a lot of red spots there. I've been astounded to know how many people are coming out to these peaceful
yep,
demonstrations. And a lot of people are just sitting there frustrated. Talk to somebody, go talk to somebody. You can start these conversations in a lot of different ways. And people will sit there thinking, I've had so many people say to me, I thought I was alone. Thank you. We become more powerful. We enter our power doing that. And again, don't be results oriented. It's a victory just getting up and doing it today. Do it, do it, do it. And it's like we'll continue to go. I'm not even worried about, I'm not worried about the midterms. I'm just getting through today. All the good things I can do
yep,
today, not worried about tomorrow, talk to people. You get these ideas out on those stages. But yeah, my family is an immigrant family. And I was at my daughter's basketball game over the weekend, and I saw the news that ICE had come into St. Croix. And
yep,
I'd been monitoring it in the Twin Cities. I had friends in the Twin Cities. And ICE is this lawless agency. They don't tell us who they are. We need to be asking, what proof do we have that this group isn't made up of pedophiles and murderers? Because they're not telling us who they are,
you know,
And I don't want my
you could
tax dollars.
go on Amazon and buy all this gear. And how
Yes.
the hell are you supposed to know if it's legit, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
I
These
don't want my
people,
tax dollars going to white supremacists. What assurances do we have? They don't let us into these detainment centers that are concentration camps. What assurances do we have that in these concentration camps, kids aren't being murdered and raped and tortured and killed and buried? What assurance? We should be
right?
demanding that.
Yep. I mean, and what the administration has spent $500 million recently buying warehouses, which are basically, 21st century proto concentration camps.
And that's our money. That could have
It's
gone
our
to
freaking
education.
money,
It could have
right?
gone to healthcare. It could have gone to people housing veterans. It could have gone to
Yep.
all kinds of good things.
But getting back to Democrats being pussies, and again, it's a little pejorative, and it's not. There are some people that are standing up and starting to push back. But like the bogus freaking rule that Noam made about you need 7 days notice to visit a detention center, right? Which has been. I don't think it's. I'm not sure if it was struck down. The second one. But what I don't get is then why haven't the Democrats been putting in writing their request to visit every immigration facility 7 days in advance, and then do it the next day and the next day and the next day,
Yeah.
so that they show up every goddamn day.
Yes.
I don't get that. And then my opinion is, ice needs to be melted into slag. It is irredeemable.
Yeah.
It cannot be reformed. You may have heard that the two CBP officers that executed Alex Preddy were 8 and 12 years veterans.
Yeah.
They were not new hires. This is not a training problem. It is a culture and a legal and a leadership problem.
Yes.
ICE has had the highest rate, or has a higher rate of committing crimes than immigrants do. There's apparently ICE and CBP officers are arrested for a crime nationally every 24 to 36 hours.
Yep.
Right?
Immigrants are among the most law-abiding people in the whole country. And I just want to say, it's always important to reiterate, it's legal to cross the border into the United States and apply for asylum within a year. You're here 100% legally. So this Republican lie, this cheating lie by which they're attacking and abusing little kids and completely innocent people. And here's the other part about immigration I want to talk about. If the United States would stop going to South America and abducting the leaders or getting involved in the elections and destroying the countries, all under this larger propaganda campaign where America claims it's the land of the free, where all these people, America goes and destroys a country in South America. The people from those countries come to the United States. Then America says we have an immigration problem. Get your hands out of Venezuela. Get your hands out of South America, and the immigration issue goes away. And on top of that, these are kind people. My wife works with refugees from war-torn areas. We're talking about kids. So this constant media attack, so many of these immigrants are people with advanced degrees who have had to move because of war, because of strife. These are good people. They elevate the education.
Most new businesses are started by more than immigrants than by natural-born citizens.
Yes.
Why? Well, it's probably because, again, they're driven by opportunity and just to get a chance to live a life without being threatened to be killed, until recently in the U.S. But the U.S. is a country of immigrants, right? How many times have we heard that, right? And of course, the indigenous people would certainly say, well, you guys, you're all freaking immigrants, and we really didn't invite you here. One of the challenges people face here in the 7th CD is that we have 7 of Wisconsin's 11 federally recognized native tribes.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things I'm trying to do is, connect with those communities that I think have been pretty disenfranchised for pretty much their entire experience since.
Invite them on to talk with me. I would love to have them. If you meet them and they want to come and talk, I would love to do that.
Yep. And but the current funding thing with ICE, again, we just don't see enough Democrats. Again, it's getting a little better that have the balls to do what needs to be done. So my opinion is, it's going to be a partial, government shutdown, right? So they siphon stuff off to have a DHS bill all by itself. And I think the Democrats should basically say, we are not going to vote to pass this bill until, I'd like to see ICE dismantled. That's probably not going to happen while the Republicans are in power. But we can demand significant concessions, including an unrevocable immediate withdrawal of ICE forces from all cities in the United States, not just Minneapolis. And sure, you got the badges and the masking and the detention facilities, but like, we're not giving you any more money, no fucking way. And in
Yeah.
fact, we need to see you take a little bit of that money back. And my opinion is, if the Republicans don't go along with it, the government shuts down or the DHS shuts down. Now, the part of the problem, as you guys probably know, is that DHS is funded at such a level through just September
Yeah.
2029 that
Yeah.
even if DHS closed, they have enough money to keep doing their Nazi shit for
Yeah.
3 more years. But my opinion is that, well, even just going back to the 14th Amendment case against Trump, this is an illegitimate government. Not only is it criminal, corrupt
Mhm.
based on their actions now having taken office. So I see no value in this government being open at all for anything until changes are made. Now, but this is a part where I think Democrats and normal people, I think, struggle with, which is, a lot of us tend to be empathetic, right? Like, I give a shit about other people,
Mhm.
right? That don't share my same heritage or,
Yeah.
whatever language. I just care about people because my brain can speculate, what would it be like if I was in that person's shoes, right?
Yeah.
So it's a real tough, I think, position for a lot of Democrats where they're like, yeah, but if we allow the government to get closed down, that's going to negatively impact people. And I'm like, yes, it will, but that's not our freaking fault. All right. I mean,
Yeah.
so, like with the DHS stuff, the package includes the Coast Guard, TSA, FEMA, and CBP ICE. Um, it would be a bummer if TSA didn't get funding, and that had an impact on the airline industry. I don't. It's not. I don't really care too much about the airline industry, but it is an
Yeah.
important part of commerce and whatnot.
Yeah.
Coast Guard has got an important role to play. It would suck if they weren't able to do that. FEMA, well, Christy Nome is trying to destroy that anyway, so I'm not really sure what the point is there. But it's like, these people again are extortionists. They're basically
Yes.
going, it's a really nice Coast Guard you got there. It'd be a damn shame if something happened to it. You
Yeah.
better vote for this. And so I don't know what is it going to take for the media and the people that aren't
Right.
paying attention? And this is part of the problem, is that a lot of
Yeah.
people aren't paying attention, and I don't fault them. I think it's our responsibility to help them see what's going on and what the
Yes.
consequences are. But the Democrats, so I've come up with this simple litmus test that I'm trying to guide my decision making, at least from my personal choices and my campaign, which is, if I think of some tactic, whether it's an action or even just messaging or whatever, and it makes me feel a little nervous and uncomfortable,
Mhm.
then I should fucking do it.
Yeah. Yep. I think so too.
So unlike what appears to be common responses, oh, we can't do that.
Yeah.
What are people gonna think? So there's this big problem with timidity, a lack
Yeah.
of courage, a
Well, the
lack.
silver
So I
spoon, yeah. The
and I
silver
think
spoon Democrats, they're risk adverse because they have it easy. I mean, they have their
what
universal health care, they have their mansions, they have their donors, and every
what
time they
have
make a
we got
mistake,
to lose?
we're
My
the
God.
ones. Yeah, and every time they make a mistake, we're the ones that have to pay for it. But also what you said, and it's a great segue, the legacy media, they bought it up. I mean, these same oligarchs that are probably on the Epstein files, they bought up all of our means of communication, and it's minimal things like this. But it's always been the independent journalists who go after the robber barons. But if you sit down and watch television, they're not showing the atrocities. They're not talking about Liam Ramos, this 5-year-old kid who just got released from the detention center because he was dying in there, because little kids cannot take the stress of being detained by these cruel men who, again, we have no insight into who they are, what kind of criminal charges are against them. So, yes, please, this independent media, anytime that you're going down to a demonstration, if you get something that needs to be seen, send me a text. We'll jump on a live. We'll see it in
Okay.
time. We got 800 people here now. We can make sure people see it.
Well,
All those people
that's
can share
awesome.
it. We're not going to let them suppress the truth anymore because they're killing little kids. They're hurting little kids.
Well, I mean, and again, the corruption of this administration
Ah,
is astounding. The self-dealing. I mean, and no, and then everybody's like, not people aren't reporting on it. So it's like, well, what are you going to do? Trump's being Trump. And I'm like, well, there is something you can freaking do,
yeah,
and so, my opinion, and part of the challenge I think we have is it's really easy to get sucked in and pile on Trump because he's a horrible person,
yeah,
right? He's a malignant narcissist.
yeah.
He's untreatable. He's only
He's a
going to get
puppet,
worse.
though. Yeah, he's a puppet.
Well, well, the biggest thing, is crazy. There's crazy people everywhere, man, on both sides, in all religions, races, cultures, histories. There's freaking, unfortunately, it's just a part of the human condition, right? But these people are not supposed to get into freaking power. The real problem is the freaking Republican Party.
Yeah.
These are the people that are letting this guy slide, and they just do not give a shit about anybody. And I always think of the meme where there's a dude in a lawn chair by a banquet table, which is, XYZ changed my mind. My
Oh, yeah,
opinion
yeah.
is that the Republicans' policy is pretty simple. We hate you and we want you to die.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I challenge someone to come and prove me wrong.
Yeah, and they're liars and they cheat to win elections. If you talk to Greg Palast as an investigative journalist, it's things like spoiling ballots, the gerrymandering, the purging voter rolls, and just the apathy though of the Democrats who they just submit. I mean, this goes all the way back to Al Gore. They've just submitted to having elections being stolen, and it's just like yes, it gets it gets so frustrating. But we do have this structure in the United States which allows white supremacists and cruel people to rise to positions of power. And we have fused that with our cultural identity. We need to dismantle that. We can be a country that protects children, that offers education. We have in the past. I've talked to
Yep.
people that had free college education because it was available. We don't have to spend $1 trillion on the military to go and attack indigenous people and steal their resources. We can spend that money on ourselves and then we don't need their oil anymore, right?
Yep. Yep. I mean, they want to increase the defense budget by $500 billion for next year. It's
Oh,
freaking
grift.
insane.
And they can't pass an audit now. They just funnel that money right into their own pockets. And
Yep.
what about bailouts for billionaires? I mean, everybody complains about socialism. We give billions and billions of dollars to the richest people in this country. Nobody ever says a thing. Like if Tesla was to go belly up, all of a sudden the American taxpayer has to give $1 trillion to them. Why don't people get
Yeah.
mad?
Well, I mean, so it's really easy. I don't know how much time we got left, Walter.
Oh, we're
Not a,
good.
not a lot necessarily. I do have to get going because
Okay.
I've got a great engagement following this, which is I'm going to go babysit my grandson.
Oh, perfect. Thank goodness. Rest. Enjoy that time,
and
please.
and but that's again one of the reasons I'm in this. That
Good.
he's my first grandchild, a year and a half old, and I think about um sometime 10, 12 years in the future where
Yeah.
he and I are chatting.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'll
Yeah.
still be around. Um, and and he says, Grandpa, I heard things were pretty freaking crazy when I was born. What did you do? And if I
Yep.
can't look him in the eye and said, I
Yeah.
did everything in my power to make this a better place for you, your siblings, your parents, your friends, your family, our community. I just don't know what I would do with myself. And so that's a big part of, what continues to motivate me because there are moments where it's like, what the hell am I getting into here?
Yeah.
Generally speaking, I'm still on board, and I'm going the distance, man. And I
Well,
am going to win the primary, and I am going to win the election in one of the, Wisconsin is very gerrymandered. This is
yeah.
not an easy district. The last
Yeah.
election, the Democrat lost by over 30 points, but I
Yeah.
really seriously believe we're 5 points away. Now, that's
Yeah.
just anecdotal, not based on any scientific polling or anything. But the what I've been telling people, similar to some of your messaging, Walter, is that nobody's coming to save us
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
The media is not going to save us. The Justice Department's not going to save us. The lawyers aren't going to save us. Legacy media is not going to save us. And ironically, politicians are not going to save us. And so some people say, Chris, well, then why the hell are you running to be a politician? And there's a simple reason. Namely, when I win and represent the 7th District of Wisconsin, my presence will mean nothing without the support of the people.
Hmm.
So what we're doing now, and so I've, come to this realization, perhaps you guys have as well, is that this is not a temporary thing.
No.
What we're doing, it's what we have to do forever. It's what
Yes.
we should have been
Yes.
doing.
Yes.
We've gotten pretty complacent and
Yes.
decadent, I think, in the incredible lifestyle and standard of living we've had here in the US post World War II. And we took a lot of stuff for granted. And a lot of people don't know how shit works. I'm sure
Oh,
you've seen the meme, right? That, someone's like, I don't get why we have to get the measles vaccine anymore. Nobody gets measles. It's
we're
like,
seeing it now.
fucking vaccine, you
Kids
idiot.
are dying now because of the measles, so we're
You
seeing it.
know?
But the media's
So
covering that, not covering that either.
So, once I get elected, I still need people coming out and saying, this is what's important to us. Democracy is not a spectator sport. That's what I've learned. It is a full contact
Yes.
participation.
Yes.
And we've just gotten so detached from that. We've taken so much for granted. And, the only good thing I can think about all this horrible stuff is it's woken us up. Like,
Yeah.
holy
Yeah.
shit, what did we let happen? We
Yeah.
just can't let it go on anymore.
Yep, and we have to answer all the false messaging. I mean, I know the district you're running in. I grew up there, the north, all the north of Wisconsin. Somebody was just asking. You turn on the radio, and 7 out of 10 stations are some extreme right wing
Yeah,
propagandizing,
yeah.
and they have endless money for that. And those of us trying to speak reason, we're doing it for free. And so
Yep.
this needs to be part of. But I mean, if we started having a society, a progressive society, where we're deflecting money to education and positive things, there would be more money for me to be able to go out and talk to people and have a wider reach. But we've just surrendered that messaging and a lot of it is the fault of the Democrats that have always wanted to go to the right. They always say we can't go too far left. They never say we can't go too far towards white supremacy. And that is what has happened. We have to fight back on that messaging. I salute you for coming on and talking to me and allowing this to share and for other people to hear this message. Let's keep doing it. I know you're running out, closing in on time. Talk to me whenever you want. You had other questions about Substack. We can answer those on the
Yeah,
phone or
yeah,
something
no,
another
I'd
time.
love to get your saged advice and based on your experience, to how to platform. I guess one appeal to your viewers is a couple of things. I've got an event coming up. So if anybody here is in the Western Wisconsin area, I am having a fundraising concert here in New Richmond, Wisconsin, on March 13th, Friday the 13th.
Awesome.
Just so
Awesome.
happened. And we've got a little bit of info on the website. I got to flush it out. That's one of our goals for this week over the weekend. But I'd really love as many people who might want to contribute and really participate in a unique experience. So basically, have a national level artist coming to perform on our
Nice.
behalf and help us, get our brains around what's been going on. Celebrate. Build a sense of community. And then I I literally have not talked to my campaign team about this because I do have some professionals helping me, which is great because it's just good to talk to somebody who's been through this before
Yeah.
versus being completely, wandering in the wilderness. But I I want to take a different approach towards fundraising. One of the things that perhaps you've heard and others have heard is that a big part of running a particularly congressional race is you got to be the candidate must be on the phone raising money. I have a full-time freaking job. It is hard to find the time to do that. Doesn't mean I'm not going to do any of it, but I just don't have a lot of time. But in fact, I'd rather spend that time talking to people, talking to people across the district, not just potential donors. And I'm sure you and your viewers, probably are on lots of mailing lists. So you probably get all sorts of emails from all sorts of candidates and the DCCC and, WISDEMs and all that kind of stuff and texts. And, all I can say is I do. I don't want to do that because it's noise. Because I kind of ignore all of it myself. I want to use social, email, texting to keep people informed about what's going on, but I do not want to use it for, click here to give me money. But the challenge is here, and I'm challenging your viewers to help me out, is if you don't send me money for my campaign, because I need to have some, I don't need millions, but I need to have some to have a professional campaign because it takes resources. If you don't do that, I'm going to have to email you and bug the shit out of you. So don't make me do it. Please, help me out as best you can within your means. Because again, I don't want to hassle you with this communication. I'd rather be spending my time talking to people and spreading the word and
Yeah.
learning more about what's happening across the district. So anyway, you guys can help me out. I'd greatly appreciate it. Armstrong
Yes.
for Wisconsin.com.
Perfect. Thanks so much. I've been sharing that in the chat
Yep.
too, so that's good. And yeah, the more we continue to rise together, I talked with Fran Hong too. I don't know if you know who
Yeah.
she is,
Yeah.
but
I know, Fran. Yep.
she's fantastic too,
Yep.
and she had great ideas. We'll continue to do this. Put your other people you know in touch with me. People want to
Okay.
talk. The more I can build up, the more information, because people are hungry. They're tired of the legacy media. They're tired of the lies. They want to know what's going on, and people are starting to see their neighborhood. People in their neighborhood are disappearing. It's not safe when we have a secret police that claims it can enter your house without a warrant. What if they get the address wrong? Is what I keep telling people.
And
That's
they
an
have.
assassination squad. Yes, they can kill whoever they want, and they just say we just got
Yep.
the address wrong, and they shot back. So this is the kind of it's a fire. Everybody needs to be ready to go. Oh, it's been wonderful talking to you. Like I said,
No,
I
it's been a
really
pleasure,
appreciate
Walter.
yeah,
Thanks
I
so much.
appreciate taking the time. We're going to create this new form of representation where we're available. And if I can be available to you, you talk to me, people can talk to me. I can filter in the questions. You can hear them. We'll tell the truth. We'll change our society. We'll get our country back. I'm psyched about it. So thank you.
We can do it together, man. 2026 is the year of the people. We are taking back the power.
Awesome. All right. That's perfect. I'll let you go. Have fun. Be the
Right. Thanks.
babysitter. Take rest. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks to all the wonderful people. Bye bye.